Welcome. My name is Steven Payne, librarian and archivist at the Bronx County Historical Society. Today is February 15th, 2022. It's a real cold day outside, but I'm really thrilled to be here with Ross the Boss Friedman, a native Bronxite, a truly legendary guitarist, and a founding member of the trailblazing bands, the Dictators and Manowar. He's also started or played in a number of additional bands across really the full spectrum of rock, blues rock, punk, heavy metal, pretty much everything. He's an extremely versatile guitarist, and his playing style, in my opinion, is incredibly unique. When he's not touring around the world, he also manages the Cage Baseball NYC, so he's a very busy man to say the least. And we're greatly appreciative that he's taken the time to share his story. So, Ross, we begin these oral histories by asking, why don't you tell us about your family's history and background and how they ended up in the Bronx?
Well, good day, first of all. Thanks for having me. Um, my father's family came from Hungary around 1908. My grandfather um, had met my grandmother around that time. I think they met in Hungary, or what was Hungary then, because
Sure.
the borders had changed a lot.
Yeah.
You know, due to war, due to whatever. They settled, I believe they settled in the Lower East Side first before moving to the Grand Concourse in the Bronx,
Sure, sure.
196th Street,
Okay,
right opposite St. James Park, I believe. And
sure.
Poe Park was right up the block across the street from across the Grand Concourse. So yeah, they moved there when they got married, and the apartment was unbelievably big.
Mm,
I mean, I can't even tell you. There was in that building, which is of course still there. There was two really big bedrooms, a smaller bedroom den that you could be there, a den, two bathrooms. You come in, there's the dining room area, right?
wow.
And then you to the right is a kitchen, like dining room, and then down was the kitchen, right? And then when as you walk in, there's a step down living room.
Oh, one of those. I was going to ask you if they had that. I know a lot of the places on Grand Concourse. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, you step down living room where they had the piano and everything, and like a family room, entertain. It was like big. I mean, the apartment is unbelievably big. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I think an apartment like that today would probably go for $4,000, $5,000. I don't even know. I mean, it's just you couldn't
Yeah.
even you can't even imagine how it was. And my aunt um, my aunt lived with my grandmother till the end, and then my aunt continued to have the apartment up
Wow.
until like the 70, the dictator, yeah, the 70, like 74, 75, and then she moved to Nyack, and then that was
Okay,
it.
I see.
Yeah, that's how long
Um,
the that's how long the family had that apartment.
wow, wow. Do you know about when your grandparents on that's your father's side of the family, right?
Yeah, yes, that's my
Do you
father.
do you know
Yeah.
about when they moved to the Bronx?
It was, I don't, well, it wasn't directly. I don't know exactly when, like 1920 or something, in the 20s or something like that.
Yeah, 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 something like that. Yeah, that's
Because
pretty
my
typical. Yeah.
grandfather, Gene Friedman, um, came from Hungary, and he was a smaller guy, but he was a tough son of a bitch, and he did a lot of boxing to see the
Yeah.
country, right? And that's a lot of those guys did. Just they wanted to see the country before they settled down with a wife and kids and everything. But his real trade was tailor.
Oh, okay, sure.
His real trade was a tailor, and then as he started his business, and I think he was considered one of the best. And what went down was he became the mayor, Jimmy Walker's personal mayor, excuse me, tailor,
Oh,
personal,
wow.
right. And so Mayor Walker was just known for his great clothing, and he was a sharp dresser, and kind of a flamboyant fellow, uh, crooked as can be.
Yeah, yeah, but
You
well
know,
dressed.
Tammany Hall, those days in New York City.
Sure.
And so, my grandfather was his personal tailor. And when my father was born, um, my father was the third child. He became my father's godfather.
Oh, wow,
The
wow.
mayor of New York, James, and so my father's James Friedman, so he was James Walker Friedman.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. So when my father was bar mitzvahed, at Shift Center on
Ah,
Valentine Avenue,
sure.
up up a bit from where they were living, walkable. The mayor came to the bar mitzvah,
Wow,
and
wow.
back
Crazy.
then that was unbelievable. I mean, you know what that caused a lot of stir when you have the mayor, you know, coming to the bar mitzvah, and
Yeah.
so that was where I got bar mitzvah too, at Shift Center. So
Okay. I see. Yeah.
yeah, so um, yeah, so I mean that's my father's side, and my mother's side. My grandmother Edith was from Italy. She's Italian, Roman
Mm,
Catholic, and then my grandfather Jerome Glatman, um, from Russia. He's Russian Jew.
okay.
So
Sure, sure.
it's kind of like a lot of like Heinz ketchup, a lot of variety. My,
Where did they live? Your mom's family?
they, they grew up. They started up in the Bronx, King's College Place. She
Okay.
had They had an apartment right by Woodlawn Cemetery.
Sure.
Off Gun Hill Road, a block in off Gun Hill Road.
Yeah.
Um, near the Reservoir Oval. The park was right up. The park where I grew up in.
Yeah.
Pretty
Yeah,
much.
yeah, yeah. It's right near here. I know it well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and it was for us. For me. It was great because right after school, I was in the park with my friends,
Yeah.
either
Yeah.
either in the park or I went to PS 94 and right on King's College Place, and I grew up in 245 East Gun Hill Road.
Okay. Okay. Sure, sure, sure.
Right?
Uh,
So growing up was amazing. But my mother's family, Italian, so I had the best of both worlds. My grandmother was an incredible cook. She used to make, I mean, homemade pasta, homemade lasagna, homemade manicotti, everything. I mean,
wow.
I'm like kind of like remembering lemon chiffon pie from scratch.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Oh, and when you're growing up, you have a voracious appetite. And
Yeah.
I would go grams for lunch. They let you out of school for over an hour,
Yeah, yeah,
and it was
yeah.
right, the next block. So everything was very, very compact, and there was not a lot of walking done. So I would have like 2 plates of meatballs and spaghetti, at least.
Unbelievable.
I
Yeah.
was ate like an animal, and I wasn't fat at all.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, it was amazing how much I was always hungry. You know how when you're growing up, you're always hungry. It's
Oh
like,
yeah. Absolutely.
yeah. So it was great to have that. And my aunts, my mother had 2 sisters, and they lived right there too. Everyone was, very close family. So I
Wow.
would like, come to my house for lunch, Ross. Come to my house for lunch. Okay, all right. And so my aunt Audrey would make me like 2 triple-decker tuna fish sandwiches that I would just inhale. It was great.
What was the neighborhood like as far as was it mostly Italians, Jews, Irish in the neighborhood? What do you remember as far as that goes when you're
I
growing up?
remember. I remember it was a mixed neighborhood. Jewish, um, Italian, Irish people were
Sure.
there.
Sure.
Around, I remember. I don't remember just Jews, a Jewish neighborhood.
Sure.
Like, I remember a mixed neighborhood for sure.
Sure, sure, sure.
But it was,
Absolutely.
it was safe. a hell of a lot safer. There was never any crime. You never heard of it. You know, we were on our own as kids. After you get out of school, like no one picks us up. No one was picking us up. I would go home.
Yeah.
You know, it was right down. It was next block. I'm at home.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was grades 1 through 6, and PS 94. We had the schoolyard. It was great. It was amazing. It was no problems, and not like it is. You know, like my son, we had to pick him up every day.
Yeah.
You know, in Forest Hills, just
Sure.
had a every single day, and no one, you can't let your kid not. You can't not pick up your kid these days.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And what were the teachers like at PS 94? Do you remember much about them?
yes, I do. I mean, a lot of there was old school teachers. I kind of remember my second grade teacher. Her name was Miss Campini, who was also my mother's teacher. So my mother went to that school too, and I
That's
remember she was a disciplinarian, old school disciplinarian teacher that took no shit from anybody. I mean, it was the old, ruler on your knuckles teacher.
yeah. Yeah.
She was
Yeah.
she, she had respect. You know, she
Sure.
had respect. You knew not to screw up in that class. I mean, because she'd let you know it, and you'd
Yeah.
feel it. Like just like the parochial school. My cousins. You see, my mother was the only one that married Jewish fellow, and
Sure. Yeah.
my two other aunts married Italian Catholics. So,
Okay. Yeah.
so my Aunt Joyce's kids went to parochial school, went to St. Anne's up like a block and a half up
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
off Woodlawn, and so I mean, it was different, so having your knuckles smacked by nuns, and they gave it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for some way, I think it's better what happened back then than
Sure.
what we have today. So today we have a very, very poor discipline with children. We really do.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Um, and as far as the neighborhood goes, what would you and your friends do for fun around the neighborhood when you're growing up?
Oh my God. Well, as I said, every afternoon. I mean, I don't remember going home and doing homework right
Yeah.
away. I remember getting out, and we're in the schoolyard. We played stickball. We played handball. We
Sure.
played football, tag football. Either that, then we go to the park or something like that. And because the park, you had the football field there. It was a reservoir, but it's not a
Yeah.
reservoir anymore. In the park, you'd have football field, and I got into football, and every day, just kind of like having adventures in the like the trees around the sides there, and
Sure.
water fights, balloon fights. We just every day we would have some activity, and it was never, I'd have to be called home.
Yeah.
I would, if my father got home early, he would whistle, and I would hear that. That means you better come home.
And I'm sure it was a particular kind of whistle that you could distinguish from
Yeah,
other parents' whistles. Yeah, I hear
yeah,
that from so many people. I
right.
can't whistle for shit, so I don't know how I'd.
No, there was no cell phones. Put it this way, no cell phones, nothing.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
wonder,
yeah,
I wonder how we made
yeah.
it.
Uh, did you all ever hang out in Bronx Park?
Bronx Park. Where was that?
So it's just if you keep going east a little bit, it's the zoo and the botanical gardens occupy part of it, but then there's
Oh,
part of it north that would just be a little east of Webster. You just keep
is it
going,
Pelham Parkway?
yeah, towards that direction. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, we hung around that area with the Dictators when we got our record contract, and
Oh, okay,
we
sure.
we hung out in this bar called the Three R's,
Oh, where
and
was that at?
it was underneath the elevated
Okay.
Three R's
Like
bar.
on White Plains Road or something like that?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Oh wow. So did you all? We'll get more into this in a little bit. But did you all play there or just hung out there?
No, we didn't perform there.
Okay. Yeah.
The very early days when we first started playing and getting our shit together.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I haven't heard of that bar before. But
No.
there's a lot of, I'm sure there's a lot of little bars like that. That only come up with people who frequent them. But
Yeah, we made it our hang.
yeah. Um, and what about going back to when you're growing up a little bit? Were there gangs that you remember in your neighborhood?
I didn't remember in public school. I didn't remember gangs particularly. No,
Sure.
I didn't remember. I'm sure there were, but it didn't cross us at all
Yeah.
growing up. We did have no, we did have a community center that we hung out a lot, and there was some tough guys around, but I don't think there was a gang.
Yeah. The only one I really heard of that was in the area, but you probably wouldn't know of them unless you had a run-in with them, was the Ducky Boys.
Yeah,
Uh,
I knew that they were down in Van Cortlandt Park area down there on
yeah.
Broad.
Um, but yeah, they're the only ones that I've even heard a name for. I'm sure otherwise it was just tough guys who might have hung out in groups.
Yeah.
But but yeah, what about was there tension that you experienced between, like, say, the Irish and Jewish communities in the area or anything like that?
Yeah. Growing up, there was always we had a I don't know why. I mean, some of the Irish kids around the block didn't like us. They were definitely, I definitely remember anti-Semitic um, stuff coming out.
Sure. Yeah.
Just I don't know why. Because right now, Irish people are the best in the world. I love them. You know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but there's always something different back then, and what people were used to, or I don't know, growing up. I definitely remember some anti-Semitism growing up, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And
It
I
never
think
got violent, and it never got like, well, we're gonna kill you. No.
yeah. Um, I remember you told me one of the earlier times when we talked a story about some of y'all in the neighborhood getting together and I guess fending off some of the Irish kids who were messing with y'all. It's a pretty funny story. Well,
Yeah,
funny and I'm sure
it was
painful.
like
Like,
we were older. We were older then, and I had already
okay,
moved from Glen Hill Road to the Cedric Avenue area, Orloff Avenue,
sure,
so closer to Van Cortlandt. So only my friends and I. So every Halloween, there was always like, we're coming up and kicking your ass. We're coming up and it was like, because I knew the. I used all right. So when I became a teenager, every Friday night I would go skating at Kelton's on Broadway.
oh, okay,
Yeah. So it was I loved skating, and I would go skating and it was really cool going skating. But there was always people down there going home, starting fights, messing with us, messing with the girls. You know,
yeah,
we just wanted to go home. We just walk home, walk
yeah,
up, walk up to Orloff Avenue, and go back home. But Friday nights, because I'm sure everyone had a little liquid refreshment. Uh,
sure,
Everybody was feeling loose, and we were, and so there was problems. So like a few Halloweens, there was definitely some organized, stuff. And I said, we're not playing this game. So we would stay up on the roof on the amalgamated
sure.
building. We get in on the roof, right, and then see people coming up the stairs. And guess what we had?
Eggs. Is that
We had,
right?
yep, yeah, it's Halloween, yep. So, bombs away. We didn't even have to
Hopefully they
see
learned
them
the
up.
lesson.
We didn't have to see them up close. It was like, like the air flights of today. You don't have to see your enemy. Just shoot. So, but it was, there's never any bloodshed or knives, or it was just good old fun.
Yeah.
It was, okay, there's some bad feelings, but I mean, it never got out of hand. And as I'm
Yeah.
sure we got older, they got older, everybody, became a serious person, not have to worry about all that bullshit.
Yeah. And so when you moved to Sedgwick, did y'all move into the amalgamated, or you just live close to them?
No, we found another a building apartment, a newer. It was new, it was nice, and my parents found a nice apartment for us, and so it was close because I was going, after PS 94, I went to junior high school 80 on Marshall Loop Parkway.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, I went to junior high school 80. Then after that, for high school, I went to DeWitt Clinton High School.
Okay, yeah. So all right here in the same general vicinity then.
Yeah, I didn't make the Bronx Science.
Yeah.
Not that I wasn't smart enough. I mean, my like two of my friends went to science and two of us went to Clinton.
Sure.
So, that was that, and so it was walkable from my house to Clinton.
Yeah. And what was DeWitt Clinton like when you were there?
Well, that was an interesting school. That was 5,000
Yeah.
guys, all guys, all one sex.
Yeah.
It was pretty, it was a pretty rough school.
Yeah.
The gym teachers were you get your asses kicked. The hall monitors, there was no bullshit.
Yeah.
If you screwed up, you had zero period, and zero period was gym and running at 7 a.m. before school started.
Oh, that's terrible.
You just get there and run. You're just running. Yeah, and it was so. You know what? In a way, it wasn't so bad.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
we kind of like thought in the beginning we kind of like thought the coal monitors were goons.
Sure.
So but high school was tough. It was a tough school. I mean, it was a turbulent time. The '60s.
Yeah.
Especially Vietnam, and it was just insane. It was crazy. But there was always a protest.
You in high school? Which years were you in high school? What was the year range there?
I think it was 69, 70, 71. 69.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. So I'm sure there were, a lot of things going on at DeWitt Clinton, walkouts, and all of that kind of stuff too, right?
Well, I mean, it's just 1967. I was 13. I was in junior high. So you dated.
Yeah, absolutely. And was there much in the way of kind of like I don't know the best way to term it, like underground or kind of countercultural scene at DeWitt Clinton?
Yeah, there was. I mean, like, you knew the people that were smoking pot, and
Yeah.
definite. My hair was longer, and it was definitely because I started playing guitar.
Sure.
When I was 13, around there, in music. I mean, I always had music in my life, but I started playing guitar seriously around 13, 14. And,
Okay.
So, when you're a cool rocker, man. Hey, man.
You let your hair grow out, get the whole vibe going.
I had like my army jacket. It was cool.
Yeah. So since you brought up music, why don't we get into that a little bit? Because from what I remember, you started out on violin and piano. Is that right?
Piano first. My parents gave me lessons. early on, like I was young, 7 years old. I mean, there was a music school on like Allerton Avenue down there,
Oh, oh,
and
sure, sure.
so it was called the music school. I do remember that, and taking piano lessons and theory lessons, of course.
Yeah.
My theory teacher was a very a kind of a very famous woman, blind. She was blind, and she was a black lady. Her name was Valerie Capers. And if you
Oh, no way. No way. Wait, so we've done an oral history with her for the Bronx African American History Project. She's
did you?
amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah.
she was a theory teacher, and she my theory teacher, and she was very. I really liked her a lot. I mean, she was just an awesome. And then we had her over to the house after a couple of years later. My parents really loved her, and
So,
yeah. So I mean, but I mean the piano. I had a guy teacher. All right, I don't even remember his name.
sure.
And I was progressing extremely well, and I was doing left hand bass clef, treble clef, you know,
Wow.
practicing up a storm, doing great, loving it. And then next thing I know, he quits. He leaves the school, and then I was heartbroken. And then they gave me this woman, and I just didn't hit it off with her. I just didn't like her. I mean, I did.
Yeah.
I mean, oh, she was okay, but I mean, we didn't like my previous teacher. So I kind of like stopped taking lessons, and so I find myself in junior high school, and they had an orchestra, and that's right, back then, folks, they did have music in school, and
Yeah. Could you
music
take your
was
instrument home still at that point?
what's that?
Could you take home instruments at that point still? Because
Yeah,
I know you could for a long time in New York,
yes,
but
you can. And
wow,
so I
wow.
wanted, I didn't play an instrument, but I felt, well, why don't I, give it a try? So I chose violin, like Yasha Heifetz or some, I was like kind of like a guy like that, you know.
Yeah.
But there's no way I'm like Yasha Heifetz. But so yeah, yet, but um, so I started on violin, and I wasn't, I moved up. Needless to say, I moved up in lightning speed. I was
Yeah.
like top violin after a while. That was no problem. And the thing is in piano school and in music school, I took a theory test, and Miss Capers told my parents this his musical aptitude. I remember it distinctly. He goes, Ross's musical aptitude is off the charts.
Wow.
I
I mean,
remember
that's
that.
clearly the case, but that's amazing, even at the time. Um,
That's
and the
what.
Valerie Capers connection's so cool.
Yeah, yeah. And so I mean, so I was violin, okay, and I was always tinkering on the piano, by the way. So I mean,
Yeah.
tinkering on the piano, but the violin I was serious, and like I'm like going forth, and I'm looking at myself. I'm going, dude, have you checked yourself out? I mean, here I am, this Jewish kid with short hair and glasses from the, I'm like, dude. I mean, and like on TV, you'd see the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, and the Doors, 67,
Yeah.
Jefferson,
Yeah.
all the bands that, Jimmy. I mean, dude, I was like, dude, you better get you, and I had my interest in girls, just, it was insane. So,
Sure.
it was just my everything was just flowing. Um, the testosterone was just going, in the genes, and you know how it is when you first growing up and discover
Yeah.
things. So I go, dude, you look like a nerd. I go, man, you are. I mean, you just got to change up. You got to change something up, like my image. So so we switched to guitar. I gave up the violin,
Yeah.
right, and I started playing guitar.
Did
And
your school have guitars at the time, or did you have to
no,
go and get a guitar?
no. My grandmother, I said, Grandma, I want to play guitar. And so we were on Gun Hill Road, and we walked down to Palumbo Music. I could never believe it. Me and her walked down to Palumbo Music, and she bought me my first guitar. It was an area guitar. It was a
Uh,
good acoustic. And God bless her, man, my grandma. And she, you know, and I started playing guitar, and then my father goes, I got an electric guitar. After
yeah.
that, I was learning really really fast. My father goes, why don't you take some lessons? And I took some lessons, and then I bought. What did I do? Did I bought? I didn't. I bought my first really serious guitar from my drummer's brother. It was a 1963 SG Custom, which I still have. It's one of the most.
Wow.
It's super valuable guitar, white SG Custom 3 pickup. But you have to take out a loan, Ross. I'm not buying it for you. If you really want it, you're gonna have to pay for it. And
Yeah.
well, that's what I did. Took a loan out at the big bank on Fordham Road. What was that bank? The Dime Savings
Oh,
Bank.
Dollar Dry Dock or Dollar
Well, yeah,
Savings Bank. Just a
yeah.
couple.
So I had to pound. I had to pay. I had to pay the loan. I was doing it. It was only $300, but I mean,
Sure.
But so I started playing guitar, and I took lessons, and in a matter of like weeks, I considered myself better than the guitar teacher.
Wow. Yeah. Where were you taking lessons at?
It was on. He had a private. There was a private house on the side. Jesus, what was that street? The four bus. The four bus came down to Fordham Road and back. What was that street? Hmm. Valentine Avenue? No, it wasn't Valentine Avenue. I'd have to check the map.
Sure. Sure. Sure.
But he was a drum teacher, and he got me a guitar. He was a cool guy. You know, he had a good. It wasn't a big place. It was just like a finished basement,
Yeah.
kind of where I took the guitar lessons. But
Yeah.
I was uh, I was rocketing on guitar, and I made the most amazing leap on guitar was the summer I went away to sleepaway camp. I was my parents. I don't think they could afford to send me and my sister, so I had to work. So I was a dish boy.
Sure. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, the camp was up at Twin Pines up in Massachusetts.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah. I've heard of Twin Pines before. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I was a dish boy, but there was another guy that was playing guitar there, and he was all into blues and stuff. So I got a lot from him, a lot of style, a lot of appreciation of the blues and everything, and I really got into it. And I really remember making huge jumps on guitar that summer.
Okay. Sure. Yeah.
I think it was 68, yeah, 1968, something like that. The first Led Zeppelin album just came out.
Okay.
And
Okay. Yeah. I think that's 68, 68, 69. I forget. Yeah.
yeah, then I remember one of my friend Zach had Velvet Underground.
Okay.
And
Sure.
turned me onto the Velvet Underground, and there was Led Zeppelin, Cream, Jimi Hendrix,
Yeah.
and yeah, it was amazing. Fucking amazing.
And which what are some of the blues albums that you were turned on to by your friend?
BB King live at the Regal, BB King, all the artists. I mean,
Sure.
the um, Newport, BB King at the Newport Jazz Festival, Muddy Waters at the Jazz Festival. A lot of those
Yeah.
records, you know. Um, Also Bob Dylan, and all the music at the time. Airplane, Grateful Dead, Quicksilver
Sure.
Messenger, um, stuff like that. Santana.
Yeah.
Then when
Yeah.
Woodstock, of course, hit, I was going to go to Woodstock, but I never did.
Yeah.
I didn't have the balls to go hitchhike hitchhike to
For
Woodstock.
sure.
No,
For sure.
yeah.
um uh what kind of music were your parents into? Would you ever listen to any of your music with them, or it wasn't really their cup of tea?
Nah, that wasn't their cup of tea. But after a while, back home, I started going to the Fillmore, and
Mm.
the saw amazing shows, and I brought my parents one night to see Frank Zappa, of all people, Frank Zappa and Mothers of Invention with the Youngbloods. I remember that show.
Wow.
My
Wow.
parents really didn't get it, you know, but at least they came. I mean, at least they, you know, at least,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, and it sounds like they were incredibly supportive of you musically while you're growing up. Did you ever
Yeah,
have any
when
tension
they,
with them over music or
well, that,
anything?
yes, in the end, yes, it was kind of tragic what they said. I mean, you know, and then, you know, back, you know, after high school, I went up to, I met these guys in the, you know, Bronx, of course, and they were called Total Crud, and they needed a guitar player, and I joined the band. So, and they were up in New Paltz. They all, you know, some of them were going to school up there, New
Yeah.
Paltz College, and I was going to Lehman. I went to Lehman College.
Sure.
I didn't like it at all. After high school, I didn't like it. It was like high school all over again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
just English 101. Come on, stop it.
Yeah. All of that.
I didn't
Uh,
I didn't have patience for it. So I kind of left there, and as well as
how,
Ace Frehley dropped out of the
oh,
same
yeah.
school.
How long were you at Lehman? A semester, 2 semesters?
I didn't even last a semester.
Okay. Sure. 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 Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I didn't even see the reason for paying for it. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
I was staying at my aunt's house at the apartment on 196th Street, and
Sure.
great that I had that. And yeah, you'll stay there and go to school. You go to college there. Da 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 da. Yeah, okay, right on. So,
Yeah.
there you
Yeah.
roll. So I was going. We were upstate. I found myself upstate, playing in the band, um, playing, you know, fraternities, you know, doing gigs, and you know, it was great. It was. I mean,
What kind of music did Total Crud
total
play?
played rock and roll. We played covers. We did different covers. We did an MC5 song. We did a Spirit song. We did
Sure.
originals. We did Who Do You Love? I mean, it was a concoction of
Yeah.
different things, of different, you know, things. So,
Sure.
but it was good for me because I was just playing different styles, playing different things, approaches to songs.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, the Honey Don't by, you know, Carl Perkins, and then you'd go to a kind of a jam song, like a Grateful Dead kind of a thing, and then the MC5 song, and then, you know, because that's crazy. It was nuts.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
um, and how long were you with Total Crud before the Dictators formed?
it was like about a year or two,
Okay.
and you know, we had a house in Highland right off the Mid Hudson Bridge. I remember that.
Okay.
We called it the Crud House. We called it the Out of It House. The Out of It House. Because believe me, that's what it was. And it was nuts. And then we had then I met Andy. Andy Chernoff would come to a lot of our functions, and then he
Yeah.
would say, "Listen, you're really great. You know, I think, you know, you could do something different, and we should do something different." So decided to form a band, me and Andy and I, excuse me. And I said, "Well, what are we going to do?" He says, "You know what? We need a house." So I found a house in Kerhonkson, New York, up 4455 road, up the mountain from New Paltz,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
it was in the middle of a cornfield. So I said, "You know what? I don't want to like, you know, disturb the neighbors with our shitty music, you know, because it's going to be loud." And so we were able to play there, and we got Scott Kempner, top 10, and he went to Bronx Science. He was a smart kid.
Okay. Sure.
But
Sure.
yeah, he found himself in a band with me, so a not so smart kid from DeWitt Clinton. So, you
um, I forget, is Andy from the Bronx also?
Nope.
Okay.
Andy's a rich kid from Malba, Queens.
Okay, I see. So a rich kid from Queens with two Bronx boys, huh?
Right. And then we Scott's friend Richard Blum, okay, would come up. He had a car. He would come up on the weekends and be our breakfast chef. And
Okay.
so Mr. Blum later became like a roadie and a truck driver that he would break club awnings. So he sucked at that. So one day he got on stage and sang in Popeyes in Sheepshead Bay, and he sang Wild Thing, and Handsome Dick Manitoba was born that night. So
Okay, sure.
yeah, came to me. Yeah,
Wow. Amazing. Um, wow. And so when you all were playing in this house, what kinds of things do you start out playing together? Do you remember?
with the Out of It House. Oh,
Yeah,
the
no. With the Dictators house that you got. I don't
yeah,
know if there's a name
we,
for
we
that,
started working on originals right away. Andy had
but
Andy was writing songs, and which was great. I mean, I wasn't writing songs then. I just had the ideas and riffs, and Andy
sure.
would come up with some amazing songs. And we didn't find the name yet. Um, but Andy was a rock writer. He had his own fanzine called the
Oh.
called the Teenage Wasteland Gazette, and
Oh,
yeah, and he published it, and he would write about me, and
yeah.
and then the cool thing is that Andy had friends in the business. He was friends with this guy Richard Meltzer, who wrote for Crawdaddy, who wrote for Rolling Stone, I believe. He wrote for Cream magazine, and so Richard Meltzer also wrote lyrics for the Blue Oyster Cult.
Ah, okay.
So
Yeah.
Richard was friends with this fellow Sandy Perlman, who was the manager of Blue Oyster Cult and their lyricist and their guy that made that image. Um, uh,
Wow.
so when Richard Meltzer told, we got our songs together, we were working. We found a drummer, right? So he would come. Well, the drummer was from Poughkeepsie, this guy, and the drummer's girlfriend. They would come together, and the girl hated us so bad she wouldn't come into the house, and she would stay in the car. She would stay in the car until practice was done. But so it was so um so Andy got Richard, told him about the band, and Richard was a total supporter. And so we were going to bring Sandy up to see the band.
Yeah.
So Richard Meltzer and got Sandy Perlman to come up to Kerhonkson, and he saw the band. We did a couple of like 3 or 4 songs, and he goes, the first thing he said was, "Don't sign with MCA." And I go, "Whoa!" Like I think we just hit pay dirt, bros.
Yeah.
The 3 of us. So Sandy was extremely impressed with me. I mean,
Yeah.
he's the guy that discovered me. He told, he said, "I never thought I'd be so lucky to discover Buck Dharma,
Okay.
but now I've discovered Ross the Boss."
Wow. And so you already were calling yourself Ross, or I guess you already had the nickname Ross the Boss at that point,
Yeah, well,
right?
I had Dharma in the summer, but it wasn't really my professional name yet. It only became
Sure.
my, it only became my professional name when the first album was released, Ross the Boss, and they gave me the name. Sandy gave me the name Funicello, and I said, "I hate that. I fucking hate
Yeah.
that. Don't use it." But he used it anyway. Russell Wilson. So, but that was gone by the second album.
Yeah.
Capital FUN. So
Yeah.
just for fun. We were just crazy guys. We all had different names. So because we didn't like our Jewish names. So
Sure. Yeah. So do you remember what are the songs you played for him? Were they songs that made it onto the first album?
I don't know. We had a song. They're definitely on the demos. We
Okay.
released the greatest demos package Backseat Boogie, Fireman's Friend. I remember Fireman's
Yeah.
Friend Superman episode.
Yeah.
Um, I think it was only Weekend. Weekend made it onto the Weekend.
Oh, we can.
Yeah, but we really didn't sing. I mean, we didn't have a real PA at practice place,
Sure.
but he got the message. Sandy
Yeah.
got the message right away, and we were damn good enough to get his interest. So we came down to New York, packed up, gave up the house, and packed up. New Paul said goodbye. Came down to the city, and he brings us to CBS. Brings us to CBS Studios, the church,
Wow.
cut a demo, and he got us signed to CBS.
Wow. Wow.
Which is amazing at our age, and not the fact that we hadn't, you know, blasted it out in clubs for years before we got signed. No,
Yeah.
none of us.
Um, were y'all playing any like local venues when you all were in the house, or really just kind of practicing?
Just practice. No, I thought maybe we should go out and play in Newport someplace. Maybe we should play for the college. I don't know, but that never happened because things,
Wow, that's amazing. I mean,
yeah,
wow,
things just happened too fast.
wow. Um,
Things just progressed.
so when you all moved back to New York City, what year was that? 74, 73, 74, something like that?
73. That would
So-
have been 73. Yeah,
Wow.
late 73. We all, Scott moved back home. I moved back with the aunt on 196,
Yeah.
and Andy went home, and so we had a record contract.
Yeah. Do you remember what did your parents think when you told them you had a record contract?
Well, that's the whole thing.
Oh, is that the tragic part?
So then, you got to be technically, classically trained. If you want to be a musician, you have to be classically trained. So I tried taking classes at Juilliard, and they paid for my aunt. They all took interest in you. Russ had this. This is Russ is at it. He's got to go to college. He has to have training, and then, And then when I said to them, I said, guys, I'm going to be a musician. I'm going to be a rock musician. I'm not going to college, and I'm not going to
Yeah.
music school. I'm doing what I'm going to do. And my mother fucking, I, the fact that her
Yeah.
Jewish boy was not going to be a doctor, he was not going to be a lawyer, he was not going to be any of that stuff, and I'm a dictator. Mom, the name of the band is the Dictators, and I got a record. She was, oh, my parents were just, it was like, I hope you fucking fail.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
how bad it got, and I'll never forget that when my mother said that to me. I hope you
Wow.
fail, right?
Wow.
Because her vision for me was more important than my vision for myself.
For sure. For sure.
And she just got so bitter, and man,
That's terrible, man.
it is
But
terrible. You never do
a lot,
that to a child.
a
Never.
lot of parents do that. I know. I know.
That's just
Um, did did they ever come around?
well, things I said. Well, we got a record deal, and I'm going out on tour, blah 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 blah. And then in Manowar, in Manowar, I got married at the end of the Dictators, and then got divorced. I was living in Mount Vernon. Came back to my parents' house. They were living in Irvington, Westchester, and things were just never right. I was always never stayed there a lot. I was always working, also
Yeah.
in construction,
Sure.
surveying, and but always playing, and what can I say? But the vibe was never the same with my parents. It was just, man, wow.
That's too bad,
When
man.
I think about it, it fractures my fucking brain. It really does.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
You know?
Um, because damn, I mean, if only they'd taken a step back to appreciate it, like, they played such a huge role in your musical formation,
Yeah,
and you've become such a, you know, extremely accomplished guitarist.
they went. I mean,
You know,
they went. They checked out gigs. They went to gigs. We played with Iggy and I think Iggy and Boris the Cult at Capitol Theater in Portchester. I think they came to that. Came to a couple of shows. They came to the first night of the studio of the Go Girl Crazy sessions. They checked
sure.
it out, and then I cut the whole next big thing in one take.
Wow,
Yeah, the place went fucking erupted when I did that. I
that's
just did the
amazing.
whole take from start to finish in one take. I mean, the intro, the solo, the ending, everything. And my parents got to witness that, and they saw the reaction from the engineers and Sandy and Murray and the band and everyone in there. But just it was never enough. It was never
Yeah,
enough.
yeah. Damn.
You know.
Sorry, that sucks.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, um, to take it back a little bit to, the early years of the Dictators, when you all first came back to New York, did you all start playing gigs then?
Yeah, we started playing shows. We had to. I mean, we got to get
Yeah,
out there.
the
A
contract,
lot,
yeah.
yeah, a lot of the places we played the Coventry here in Queens, which is no longer existing. The Coventry had Kiss played there, Teenage Lust, a lot of bands, the Brats, Poets of 42nd Street, a lot of
Yeah,
bands. A lot of bands played the Coventry through the years. Um, those were the days when you can play in clubs and earn a living. You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
Sister had started, they were playing, and all over the place. Rat Race Choir, all these bands. PT Quick, I don't know. Yeah. So, I mean, we would play Popeyes. We would play. We got gigs. And
What about in the Bronx? Did you have a chance to talk to your the Dictators biographer to find out more about that? Did you all play gigs in the Bronx?
I have to ask Sal. I think we played one show on Broadway somewhere. I'm gonna we played at Luna Park by Co-op City. I can tell you that.
Okay, okay.
You know.
Um, and were there other people kind of in the scene that were from the Bronx other than yourselves that you remember? I mean, of course, Ace, but it's a little bit of a different. Uh, I don't think y'all ran in the same circles, but
No, no. Um, no, there wasn't a lot of people. There wasn't bands from the Bronx, but let me see. Mia Sal. Let me see.
yeah, we'll see what he
Anyway,
says. Um, but what about? I mean, I imagine maybe not so much around New York, but when you all started to tour elsewhere, what was it like being Jewish in other parts of the country where probably some people had never met anyone who was Jewish before?
um, there was no problem. We
Oh,
never encountered any problems on the road like because of that. Um,
sure.
the first tour they sent us down when we started touring, they sent us down to Alex Cooley's Electric Ballroom in Atlanta, Georgia, and
Okay.
opening for a band called Rush.
Oh, no way, really?
Yeah, I mean, and if you could imagine the worst pairing of two bands ever in the history of rock and roll, that was
The
it.
Dictators and Rush.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yes,
very hard for me to imagine.
yeah. And they were great guys. They were great guys, and they were on their first tour, first record,
Yeah.
Fly By Night. Yeah.
Um, wow, that's crazy. What about what are some of the clubs that you played at the most in New York? Did did you all have a very big presence at like CBGB's
Well,
or
well, I
Axis
haven't.
Kansas City?
Yeah, I haven't mentioned CBGB's yet because CBGB's wasn't existing.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
CBs and Maxes didn't exist when we started. It was just the
Yeah,
cover.
they did it until, what was it, 76? Is that when they started?
Yeah, it was. We were playing before that. It was the
Yeah,
Cottage, Popeyes. Um, there was a few other places. I don't remember. There was one place in Brooklyn. I don't remember the place. But
sure.
then, but then around the end of '76, we heard of a place in the Bowery called CBGB's, where all these bands started playing, and the scene was starting up.
Yeah,
And, of course, we gravitated there. Our agent, managers went there, and we started playing there. I mean, it was, we had already changed. By the second record, we had already changed the makeup of the group, and
sure.
we got Mark the Animal Mendoza on bass,
Yeah,
and he later went and joined Twisted Sister,
yeah,
and we got Richie Teeter and on drums, great singing drummer who's passed. Then we
sure.
got Andy switched over to keyboards, and
Okay,
and then Manitoba, kind of like became the full time singer. But
sure.
he never really sang everything. So we
Yeah,
had, the 6-man lineup that was supposedly be heavy enough to go out to the arenas. And
yeah, yeah.
I mean, it was good. The band was good. Mark was an amazing bass player. I mean, he's unbelievable. I'm still great friends with him, and he's a great guy. An amazing bass player, one of the
Yeah.
best.
Um,
So then we went on tour. Then in '77, we were off CBS. They dropped the band. The record really didn't sell.
sure.
Surprisingly, so we thought we were going to have the biggest record in the world.
Yeah,
It didn't last. Okay, all right. Next, didn't happen. Okay, but we got another record contract with Elektra, and we made Manifest Destiny.
yeah,
We went on tour, and they, our agency, you know, put us with. They had all these bands. We went on tour with ZZ Top, Kiss. We went out on tour with Blue Oyster Cult. We went out on tour with Burton Cummings. We went out on tour with Uriah Heep. We went out on tour. I mean, ridiculous. I mean, bands that really we didn't fit in with, and
yeah,
we thought we deserved to fit. I mean, one night, like it was show and go. One night they loved it, standing ovations for an encore as an opening act, and then the next night it was like booze. We didn't, and we were doing the same thing
yeah,
every night.
yeah,
But so I mean, it got a little frustrating, and we kind of decided at the end of that we're going to change the band again. We're going to go back
sure.
down. We're going to go back to our roots. So we parted ways with Mark amicably. Mark was great guy. So we parted ways. Andy moved back to bass,
Mm,
and we had a second record. We went into the studio. We cut a live record in the
yeah,
studio at the record plant. We called it Blood Brothers, and
sure. Yeah,
to this day, people love. I mean, that record is unbelievably popular. I mean,
yeah. I love.
all the
I
records are.
yeah.
Um,
Um,
yeah.
were were people kind of in, when do you remember kind of being like dubbed or being called like a punk rock band? Did that happen, at any time where you all while you all were together, or was that kind of afterwards, after the scene had already formed and after it'd been a few years?
No, 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 no. We were playing CBGBs a lot. We would play like 2 shows a night.
Sure.
And what really spawned our popularity, I mean, Mr. Manitoba was known for he was wild. He was a wild man. He was always out at night causing trouble. So
Yeah.
we were doing well at CBGBs. We were doing really
Sure.
well.
Sure.
We play like a Friday and Saturday night, and but what really kicked it in, Mr. Manitoba we went to see Wayne County. Wayne County, remember her? Remember Wayne County? Wayne County was obviously in drag. I mean, he
Oh, sure. Yeah.
wasn't Dane yet, Jane yet. So Mr. Manitoba was in the front of the stage at CBGB's, obviously a bit inebriated, probably. Of course he was. And Wayne or Jane took offense to him, and
Sure.
he thought Richard was mocking him or her, and
Yeah.
took the microphone stand and broke Richard's collarbone.
Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, Richard had to be taken to the hospital. Okay.
Yeah.
And the whole riff went fucking berserk. Everybody
Yeah.
was both sides. But first of all, you can't be attacked as an artist. You can't attack somebody off the stage.
Sure.
You know,
Sure.
you're
Absolutely.
holding advantage especially with that microphone stand. You could have killed somebody. And
Yeah.
I went fucking berserk. I said, you can't. I was going to kill the guy. I was going to kill him. I mean, I didn't know him. I said, you know, what are you going to take? You're going to kill my lead singer? You're going to
Yeah.
take livelihood away from me? What are you out of your
Yeah.
mind? So
Yeah.
uh, the whole thing started. Wayne County was hiding out. He thought that
Wow.
we were going to send our Bronx shock troops to get him. Believe me, I was that close to doing it too. One
Yeah.
word, one of my words, it would have happened. But better heads prevailed, and we were going to Murray and Sandy were going to charges, and all, the whole thing, and there was a benefit for Wayne County, and all the glam side was on their side, and then all the other people were on our side, but and then you will never play. And Hilly goes, you will never play CBGBs again. Why us? Why Dick? We didn't start this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then for some reason it just, I mean, Richard would tell you the whole story, and then all of a sudden he's forgiven. All is forgiven, right?
Wow.
And the press that we got when we started playing up there again, we would do 2 shows a day. The lines were out, fucking. You couldn't. Hilly would be known for squeezing when people like a sardine can, squeezing the door, pushing
Yeah.
people in. More people. It is so insane. And, there was no rules back then for occupancy or anything like that
Sure.
of
Sure.
CBGB.
Sure.
You get a lot of people in there, and so I mean, the Dictators were definitely on the map.
Yeah.
Definitely, it was
Um,
insane, notorious.
what
But
what are some
in the end,
the
they both kissed and made up. So
that's crazy though.
yeah.
That's a crazy
Oh
story.
my God.
Um, what are some of the bands that you all played with on a regular basis at CBGB's?
Um. Well, we never really the bands that opened for us. I don't kind of remember them, but Hilly
Yeah.
had his headliners were like the Ramones,
Sure.
Television,
Sure.
Blondie,
Sure.
Mink DeVille, Dictators. Um, the I can't even remember all the groups that he had, but the Shirts, he was, the Dead Boys, he was managing. So
Sure.
there were,
Sure.
but you never could. That kind of a scene will never happen again ever. With
I know.
so many great musicians came together at one time in one place at the same time. I
Yeah.
mean, it was an unbelievable scene, and
I
it will never happen again. And I'm so honored and grateful to be part of that. I mean, we must have played CBGBs 35 times.
Wow.
35,
Wow.
and we closed the Dictators. We closed. We played the last weekend. We played Friday and Saturday, and Patti Smith played on Sunday. And Patti Smith was huge there, of course. And
Sure.
Patti, uh, um, and she, we don't really consider her punk rock, but
Sure.
she is who she is.
Yeah.
And we didn't. So we played the last 2 Friday and Saturday of CBGB's history. Now on the Friday
Wow.
it was like another day, so I
Yeah.
didn't. It was going to be tomorrow. But at the show, I'm standing there and we're playing, and I'm going to myself, this is it.
Wow.
I'm saying to myself, this is it for CBGB's. I'm saying that you grew up in this fucking place,
Yeah.
and I mean, it was a shithole, but it was our shithole.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
ours. It was ours. And finally the last song, like it started to really sink into me. So the last song that we played, Tommy Ramone was still alive. He was the only
Wow.
Ramone left, the original Ramones. So we got Tommy Ramone to come up on stage, and he sang Blitzkrieg Bop with us.
That's unbelievable.
And
Wow.
it was the last song. It was the last rock song played at CBGB's. And it was
Dictators with wow.
it was fitting, and I was heartbroken. Now we all were. It was a tough night. It really was at the end of that, but especially because there is no more. It's it. It's ending. The club closed. I mean, the fact that Hilly kept it going for so long was amazing.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
had that the rents didn't start getting crazy.
Yeah.
He was able to handle it, but you know, still
Wow.
wasn't getting the big weekends from the headliners anymore. It was hard. Everybody was out all over the world, and
Sure.
so that was it. For CBGB's. We'll never
Wow.
forget the last two shows.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, and I don't know too much about this history, but I think CBGBs would occasionally like host some of the early hip hop before it was called hip hop MCs.
And
Uh,
he had everybody there, Steve. He had everybody there. He had hardcore after our wave. He had the hardcore wave,
yeah.
and Pro Mags and all these bands. So
Wow. Yeah. There's
Agnostic Front, had all these people.
wow.
So we're just that's it. I mean, we played it a lot of shows.
Damn. But you all were there for the whole thing, and that's amazing. I mean,
Yep.
uh, wow. Welcome back. My name is Steven Payne, librarian and archivist at the Bronx County Historical Society. Today's February 24th, 2022, and we're here again for part 2 of an oral history with Ross the Boss Friedman. And the last time Ross left off right towards the end of at least the first stint with the Dictators. And before he goes on to talk about all of the rest of his career, or at least as much as he can fit right now. Ross, I wanted to ask you just a couple questions about the first part that we didn't get into again. So the first thing, I know it's been explained elsewhere before, but just to have it on this record as well, if you could talk a little bit about how y'all came up with the name of the Dictators.
Okay, yeah. Well, thanks for having me again. When I met Andy, he was a rock writer. He had written for Cream and Crawdaddy and other magazines. He had a lot of. He had his. As a matter of fact, he had his own fanzine.
Sure, sure.
It was called the Teenage Wasteland Gazette, and he actually, he actually had it published.
Yeah.
And he started talking about um, this new band that was going to be hatched, and the names that were out there were like the Fabulous Moolah. you know, it was like a lot of different names. Beat the Needles was
Okay.
especially great one.
Yeah.
And the name the Dictators was actually there. I mean, in the list of all these names, Tommy the Truck was one of the names.
Oh, that's a pretty cool name too.
Yeah, Tommy the Truck. Yeah, it was like none of these names really inspired anything until the Dictators. We started thinking about that, and see what wouldn't be better if a bunch of Jewish nerds from the Bronx used the name the Dictators. It would be
Yeah.
like, so we decided it was going to be the Dictators. We are the Dictators of rock and roll.
Yeah.
And so that's where it was. That's what it is.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, and it's it definitely fits in with the whole like there's so many like tongue in cheek elements in the Dictators music as well, and it fits in hand in glove with that aspect of things. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about maybe how y'all fit in, maybe style wise as far as how you appeared, but also maybe just style wise and far as like your general attitude and approach with some of the other bands that were, that at least eventually played at CBGB's? How did y'all fit in with them?
Well, yeah. I mean, by the time we started playing CBGBs, we were the band had changed. We had Mark Mendoza on bass,
Sure.
aka Glickman, and Andy had moved to keyboards. And by the time we started playing CBGBs, they thought, I mean, we were a hometown band, mostly from the Bronx. They thought we were crude bunch of, you know, big guys, a lot of Jufros.
Yeah. Yeah.
They like really couldn't relate to
Yeah.
us, you know. I mean, a lot of these people were way in the art scene, and
Yep.
we have our friends, and the Dead Boys were our buddies, and the Ramones were our buddies. But you know, I could see like the television and the talking heads. You know, those guys. That crowd was like, these guys. You know,
Yeah. 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 I mean,
we were crude. You know.
yeah. And like I feel like so much of that like iconic early punk style, when I look at it, I'm like, that's just what working class teenagers and like young adults were wearing in places like the Bronx. Like there's
Yeah.
there's no like intentional style. It's just like what people wore. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you just we were street kids. I mean, you know, we were just we came from our hoods. You know, we came from our neighborhoods.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So I mean, and once the Wayne County incident went down, uh, I don't know if I talked about that in the last part.
Yeah,
But
yeah. You mentioned it for sure.
yeah, so once that completely split the scene in half. You know, the Wayne side, you know, and then the Dictators side. So it was like it was kind of weird, but it really put the Dictators on the map.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, we
Um,
could sell out 2 shows at CBGB's, and we used to do 2 shows a night. I mean, it was incredible.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, those are the things that I kind of wanted to touch on from the last one because I think well the name is just very interesting, but the style element I think is important because like I imagine a lot of people going back and kind of looking at pictures or being familiar with the early punk scene, they wouldn't necessarily get some of the like tension that were there and yeah. So anyway, um, but this is a question that I imagine might lead naturally to you talking about eventually getting into Manowar. But I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about like your general approach to your kind of style of playing guitar, maybe how your early musical training might or might not have played into that, and how it allowed you to kind of transition seamlessly between some of the riffs that you were playing with the Dictators and some of the riffs that you came to develop later on.
Manowar, yeah. That's a good question. So when I started playing guitar, I had many influences, all good.
Yeah,
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 my blues, mainly my blues influences. Um, I had like a lot of people that I looked up to, B.B. King, the Kings, the
sure.
Three Kings, Michael Bloomfield, who was I mean, to me, he was a Jewish kid from a big city. I mean, I was just like, that was me. I mean, this guy was a blues freaking giant, Mike Bloomfield, and the Paul Butterfield Blues Band. So, and then again, once '67, the explosion of music. You had the West Coast music, and then you had you know the English thing, the English invasion.
Sure.
The Fleetwood Mac and Peter Green and Savoy Brown and all these bands, Eric Clapton and the obvious Page and playing, Jimi Hendrix. So what I did was I studied every guitar player that I loved, and I learned his style. learned the style of the guy I was, you know, you know, playing to, and I would play countless hours to, you know, Fleetwood Mac, Peter Green, Jimmy Page, I play the whole record. I play along to Jimi Hendrix. I play along to Carlos Santana. I play along to, you know, all these guitar players, and I sucked up so much info and so much, technique when I first started to play. I think what happened was it just morphed into my own style.
Yeah, yeah.
You guys take card?
Yeah, it just morphed into my own style.
Yeah.
So it was a great thing, for me to come up with my own style. Then after so many influences, it's a blessing. I mean, because I don't think I sound like anybody. I don't know.
No, I don't think you do either.
You know,
Um, I imagine uh, I imagine when you all were signed, that's probably a large part of the reason as well. I mean, I'm sure all the other members had their own part to play, um, but yeah, you know, because you hear things even on the first Dictators album, that I feel like no one was playing on guitar for in some cases a couple decades after that album.
yeah.
So. Um, but yeah, and I'm sure it was more indirect as well. But all of your training and violin and piano and all of that, I'm sure.
It all kind of melted
Yeah,
into what I became, and it was like it kind of like when the early demo Dictators demos were good, but once I got into that studio, I mean, it was like wow, it was like, you know, just I felt a lot of I felt the fact that, you know, it was like going to college. I mean, going to school. You had to start at the beginning and you work your way up. And
yeah,
that's exactly what I did on guitar in such a short period of time. I mean, it was like it was a blessing actually.
yeah.
So
Uh,
plus my knowledge of the rock and roll and blues from the beginning, from 1954 and even earlier than that, was like the blues. I was like it was I was kind of it was easy for me. By then it was easy just to play, just to come up with solos, just to jam for an hour and not repeat myself.
yeah, yeah. Um, did you have like a large record collection at the time, or would you use like your friends' records? Like how did you gain access to so much
Yeah,
such a wide variety of artists?
honestly, I didn't have a huge collection of music. I would borrow from my friends. I had the people that I really loved. I had their records.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so I wore them out. Wore them out. I mean, it's like uh, it was just I just even if any guitar player I would just hear for a second, you know, even if I went to you know a concert, if I went to a dance, I saw the guy, I would immediately learn, and I'm still like that. I think that it's I learned something. I want to learn something about guitar and music every single day. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
to think you got it, it's like baseball. You'll never master that game. It will
yeah,
always once you once you think that, it'll always come back and bite you in the ass.
yeah. And for people who might be listening to this in the future, what you hear in the background is actually Ross at his own batting cages. A lot of different people there. It's a very busy time of the year for him. So,
Yeah,
and
it's a huge. It's pretty big. It's like 10,000 over 10,000 square feet, and I got 4 teams here now, and it's the season's going to start in like a month and a half, and for these kids, so they're you know they're trying as hard as they can to get ready, and northeast the northeast is cold and they can't go outside, and so that's the problem. So we have everyone loves this place. So
yeah. Um, and And yeah, so you want to talk a little bit about, the Dictators kind of, at least temporarily, disbanding, and how you got into Manowar, that whole part of your story.
Yeah, sure. So after the third record, Blood Brothers failed to, be commercially successful. Um, we left Elektra after two records, and then we kind of like said, let's take a break. Let's decide what we want to do. And Sandy Perlman, our manager and producer, found this band in Paris called Shaken Street, and they had a really beautiful lead singer, Fabienne Shine, and she absolutely seduced him to be the band's manager. So Sandy decided to handle Shaken Street, and it just so happened that Shaken Street's guitar player, Amik, kind of sold his guitar for heroin.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so the guy was out, they didn't want him in the band anymore, and so Fabienne goes, Sandy, he no guitar player, and Sandy goes, do I know a guitar player? Fucking you got it. I mean, it was just like the stars were aligned.
Yeah.
The stars were aligned. Yeah. So everything was in this place, and I joined Shaky Street. Hold on a sec.
Yeah, sure.
All right, go ahead. So so Sandy was like, yeah, I know a guitar player. He's looking for something to do. So so we were just next day I was in Paris.
Wow.
So yeah, I went to Paris, and then I went up to there. They had at the University of Paris. The other guitar player had a room for rehearsals. So I went in, I picked up my guitar. Played a couple of like 20 seconds. They stopped it and goes, "Want to be in the band?" I was like, "Yeah, okay, sounds good." As long as Sandy's in back of it, and they had a deal. They already had a deal with CBS France.
Okay, sure.
Sandy was Mr. CBS with Blue Oyster Cult, and so he had already produced the Clash, and it was the thing to do, So we went to, we decided to go to San Francisco to make the record at the Automat, and we made the record, and we started touring, blah 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 blah, and they put us Shaken Street. They put Shaken Street out with Black Sabbath and Blue Oyster Cult. It was the Black and Blue tour. We opened up, and then we find next thing you know, we find ourselves in London and in England, opening up for Black Sabbath.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so we're I'm either in Manchester, or Newcastle. Newcastle. We did a sound check, and after the sound check, Ronnie Dio's standing on the side there. It was his first tour with the Heaven and Hell. So Ronnie Dio's on the side there, and he comes up to me and goes, "You're really a great guitar player." And I'm like, "Thank you, thank you." And I have this guy on my crew. His name is Joey, and he plays bass like you've never seen before. And so you should go meet him and check and talk to him. I go, okay, yes sir. All right. So I put my guitar, get ready for the show. I have about an hour and a half till doors, and so I seek Joey out, and I started talking to him, and then me and him we become friends, and we talk about we had like a lot of the same, ideas in music, and then so we decided then we would form a band. We would form a three-piece band.
Yeah.
With a singer, and in like Sabbath, like Grand Funk Railroad, like
Sure.
Led Zeppelin, like Mountain,
Yeah.
So we're going to do something like that, and we would go into Black Sabbath's dressing room when Sabbath were on the stage. When Sabbath was on the stage, we would go up to their dressing room and jam. Okay.
Oh, okay.
And we're blasting away on there, we're blasting away on the rehearsal gear,
Yeah.
right? And then when they would stop a song, it was like from upstairs. It was like, and then Ronnie and Geezer and Tony would look, what the hell? Looking up at their dressing room at the Odeons, and Ronnie goes, it's Ross and Joey. It's okay. Oh, okay, no problem. I'll never forget the look on them. No problem. Who cares? You know, they were so cool, really so cool, and so supportive of us. And Joey and I decided to make a band. And my last show with Shakin' Street was in Hawaii, Aloha Stadium, and I told the band, and we had a replacement, all picked out. One of Joey's friends, who was a really good guitar player.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to leave on bad terms, so that was the plan. Came off the road, started writing songs for a demo, and we recorded. I had a friend in EMI Liberty in New York City. His name was Bob Curry, and he was his girlfriend was friends with my wife at the time, and so he was really cool and supportive. And then when Shakin' Street actually supported Blue Oyster Cult on the boardwalk in Asbury Park, he came to see the show, and he was blown. He said I blew him away. And he goes, one day, Russ, I'm going to do a project with you.
Yeah.
And little did he know what that project was going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, that's wild. I mean, are there many other guitar players who, like could play, just as well in some of the genres that you could call punk now, and some of the genres around heavy metal? Like, is that pretty unique of as far as things go with you? Because I can't think of a whole lot of them.
No, I can't think of any. I mean, a lot of people can't think of who became famous in punk rock and who became famous. Because I never called it punk rock. I always thought it was rock and roll.
Yeah. That's what I was going to ask you that too. Because I mean, now people look back and call it punk rock, but I'm sure at the time you just called it rock and roll, right?
Like MC5 and Flaming Groovies and bands like that. We were more into that style, but I don't know. They called it punk because the media decided it was punk and put us on the cover of Post magazine or something.
Yeah.
So punk rock, So and then it's metal, but for me the transition was seamless. I mean, it was just I just did it. I didn't play any different.
Yeah.
I didn't think I played any different in Manowar. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I incorporated a few different new scales, or I don't know. I didn't do it on purpose, because it was whatever the song called for. That's what I did.
Yeah. And
and not a note too much. And
yeah.
not a note too less.
Yeah. I remember that's one thing that you were talking about before we recorded part one. One of the first times we talked is that's part of your style as well, as you can shred with anyone, but you don't lose the you don't lose any notes in doing so, and that's pretty hard to say about a lot of people who play at that speed.
Yeah, the most important thing is the song. The song is always the most important thing. The song, the singer, the lyrics, and then the guitar solos, and that's just, to me, that's just extra. I mean, that's just sprinkles. It's sprinkles on the ice cream. I mean, a great song without a great guitar solo, it's a great song.
Yeah.
But a great guitar solo with no song, it sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks. I mean, I think that the song's the most important thing in music, and so that was my mantra. It's like whatever that song needed, that's what that song got.
Yeah.
So
and
that's me in a nutshell. I mean, it's like I see so many metal guys that are just, I don't know, it's just playing fast for the sake of playing fast, and it's just too much. It's too much. But the great ones know what to do. No.
Yeah.
So, like I did a KK Downing from Judas Priest. I did a show with him.
Okay.
The original member, and he's not in the band anymore. And
Sure.
I brought KK back on stage for the first time in 10 years. And so it's, he's a great guitar player. And he's whammy bar. He's Mr. Whammy Bar and all sorts of, stuff. And, but he's great. They know how to play. I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
You don't get to that level and not knowing how to play. It's just whatever it takes.
For sure.
Team musicians know that. So, as well drummers as anybody.
Yeah.
I'm just hearing too much as far as drumming. I'm just hearing too much double bass drums.
I know. I mean, it sounds amazing, the first time you hear it, but then if it's on every single song, it's like, come on now.
I mean, for the whole song. I mean, it's just like let me just watch like Tom Hanks who's playing ping pong. What was that movie?
In Forrest Gump.
Yeah, and he's playing ping pong. It's like, it's like what the fuck, man? It's like, it's just bass drums. I mean, Jesus, come on, enough. And the song could have been better if I had arranged it. I'm like listening to that. I'm like, oh my god. Oh, stop. Yeah.
So with Manowar, I feel like just like the Dictators, there was a huge element of like theatricality to the performances, and not only the performances, to the album covers and all as well. Is that something that you had a hand in, or you just kind of were part of the band, so you went along with it?
No. Everything that we did, Joey and I invented.
Sure.
The swords were real.
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
Spike him into the stage at the end of battle hymns, and
yeah.
Swords were real down to the bloodletting grooves in the size.
Oh
yeah, and the equipment was all real. We had no dummy cabinets. It was an extreme amount of equipment that was all customized. The first look of the band, when we had money for leathers, was very good. In the first the battle hymns version.
Yeah.
And then when we were on independent labels, we really didn't have a lot of money, so the look was a little. As I would even admit, the look is a little cheesy. If you could, kind of encapsulate what I just said.
Yeah.
You look at Manowar, the oiled down versions, those picks. I mean, it was kind of cheesy, yeah. But nevertheless, the music was still amazingly good.
Yeah.
We still cranked out. We still cranked out. I cranked out 6 records in 6 years.
That's unbelievable. What was the pace of that like? Because I know you all were doing a lot of touring as well, so
yeah.
That can't have been easy.
I guess when you're young and dumb and full of cum, you have that energy, and but the ideas and the songs kept flowing from Joey and I, and you look at that time, and those 6 records will never ever be topped. I mean, battle hymns, Into Glory Ride, Hail to England, Sign of the Hammer, Fighting the World, and Kings of Metal was my last record, and it just those records can't be topped.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And when you were in Manowar, did you live in New York City? Did you live in Bronx? Where did you live at the time?
Well, I had already moved up to Mount Vernon.
Okay. Sure.
With the Dictators out of my own house, my first wife, and then when Manowar signed the contract, I kind of started divorcing my wife.
Yeah.
I moved out to my parents were living in Irvington, New York, so I stayed up there because I was never home. So I stayed up and lived with my folks for a while. But Manowar was from Auburn, New York.
Sure.
So we had our headquarters, we had our all our gear and in our warehouse in our practice place that we made, and so I would drive up there, make the drive to Auburn from Westchester. It was cool.
Yeah.
Right
Yeah.
over the Quincy Bridge and whoop, up 17 and so I would drive to Auburn, and so most of the time, but I would come down. I couldn't live there.
Sure.
Although a lot of nice people in Auburn, they were just. I'm a New York City guy. I have to have all my friends are in New York City. I was like, come down to Westchester, stay back with my parents, and enjoy my friends down here. And then when we decided to work, we have decided to record, drive right back up to Auburn. So.
Yeah. And I remember you said last time, at least when you were in the Dictators, you also were, working a variety of other jobs. Is that the case when you're in Manowar too?
Yeah. When we were in Independent, all our money pretty much went to support our two members.
Yeah.
Scott Columbus and Eric Adams, and that's we took that as our responsibility. So I needed money, and I'm not lazy, so
Yeah.
I was doing my best buddy Richie. He was a surveyor, and he got me a really good job being part of the surveying team in this company in Mount Vernon called the Nigel Brothers, and we did a lot of work on the Hutchinson River Parkway and
Okay.
all over the place. And I always was working, no matter what I would, and it let me go. Richie, I gotta leave. Okay, leave. When you coming back? 3 weeks. Okay, job's waiting for you. So it was really great, having something like that. And then Richie became my drummer in Heyday and Spinatras. So it was a good relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Thank God I had that job.
as far as like your work ethic goes, is that something you saw in your parents as well? I don't think we talked about last time what your parents did for a living.
Oh, they were in the furniture industry.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Well, just working. I mean, I right from the get-go, I had to buy my first guitar.
Yeah.
I had to buy that 1963 SG Custom.
Yeah.
So I had to, I knew that working was the only way I was going to get anywhere was by working.
Yeah. For
Because there
sure.
was no one in my family that was going to give me anything.
Yeah, because I imagine they probably didn't have a whole lot that they could give anyway. Huh?
No, the big money avoided my family. So.
Yeah.
But being able to work hard is good.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that there are, so many things that you've gone on to after Manowar. Do you wanna kind of walk through all the different, bands and projects you've been involved in, or at least a few of them?
Okay, so Joey and I had a falling out. Actually, kind of like fired me in 1988, right before the release of the band's biggest record,
Yeah.
Kings of Metal, was the most douchebag move ever in rock and roll history. Probably Mick Taylor quitting the Rolling Stones and Manowar firing Ross the Boss, and so it could have been. I mean, I think Manowar we could have been as big as Metallica.
Yeah.
But no. Joey had to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory, So, so I kept playing with my friend Richie. We had a band, and then that was '88, and then we get into the '90s. So I got married in '89, and then my son was born in 1991.
Okay.
Chase Friedman, and it was the best day of my life. And
Yeah.
sort of, and it's like, no doubt. And so I was like, I'm glad I wasn't that busy. So I was like busy with all that. And I think around 1996, the Dictators got a call from a promoter in Spain to come tour in Spain. And we went to Spain, and the place went bananas for the Dictators. And Spain went fucking bananas for the Dictators. We became really big in the a short amount of time. So we would tour Spain every year, and then I got a call from this guy Oliver Weinsheimer, who is the promoter for Keep It True Festival in Germany, and he goes, "Would you like to play a solo on my friend's album? These guys are called Majesty, and they would love to have you play a solo." So
Yeah.
I played a solo for them and sent it to them, and all of a sudden, the interest in old school, because Manowar was really not lighting it up. It took them 5 years to the next record,
Wow.
from '88 to '93, to release Triumph of Steel, and so people were really people really were centered on my time in Manowar and those classic records.
Sure.
So Oliver goes, you want to play at Keep It True Festival? I'd love to play, but I don't have a band.
Yeah.
So, well, I know these guys. They have a Manowar cover band, and so they sent me the tape, and I kind of liked them.
Yeah.
I was good. So I came over. I decided to play the festival. Came over a couple of days in advance. We rehearsed, and then we played. And it was good. They really liked it. I mean, we did very well, and I made at the same time we went into the studio. I made a demo, gave it to Ollie, and next thing I know, we're playing the Rock Hard Festival. He goes to me, "Oh, by the way, you got a record deal with AFM." And, yeah. So, okay. They want to sign me, so we signed with AFM, and I started my solo career. We did New Metal Leader, and then in 2008, and then 2010, I did Hailstorm.
Sure.
And then I said, now it's time to get a new band. I wanted a U.S. band, and so it took some time. It took a little time. In the meantime, I met this guy Sean Peck, and he said we're going to put a band together called Death Dealer, and we put out. Okay. So I became the guitar player in Death Dealer along with my friend Stu Marshall from Sydney, Australia.
Yeah.
So we were, so I had two metal bands, and the Dictators. We started the Dictators NYC.
Yeah.
The Dictators NYC toured for 7 years, and then Death Dealer, and then Ross the Boss Band.
Sure.
And I got the American Ross the Boss Band. I got Mike LePon. I got Mark Lopes, Steve Bolognese. Originally it was Rhino on drums, but
Okay.
the drummer for Manowar. But we got then he kind of like screwed up a little bit, and we played Wackenfest, and the studio things and the other things. And I did this. Oh, I did Heyday, this album Heyday with Richie, and
Sure.
then it would later become the Spinacles. So Heyday is almost blues country rock.
Yeah. I know. And again, you can play across all genres of rock and blues, and yeah.
Acoustic stuff. There's a lot of beautiful acoustic stuff I did on that record. I really am proud of, and it's not all blasting on a fucking Gibson. It's like
Yeah.
using this really cool Telecaster, and so I every day I play the Tele, I play acoustic guitar, 12-string, keyboards. I just played keyboards on the new Dictators track, and it's a beautiful thing. I mean, I keep playing, and so I'm looking forward to my tour starting in Barcelona on April 21st.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully, if we don't have World War III, and
Yeah.
but it's kind of looking bad right now. I'm looking at these pictures from the war. It's unbelievable. Just transpose it back to World War II. It's the same thing.
I know. Absolutely. Well, yeah. Hopefully, some type of solution will be.
He wants Ukraine. He's going to take Ukraine. He's going to have Ukraine. He's going to put his own government in Ukraine, and that's it. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So another shit show, and maybe he's going to go for Belarus and maybe some of the other republics.
Yeah.
Former Soviet republics.
Yeah.
Because we have weak leadership now in our country. No one's really standing up to this guy. I have my own opinions about things. I'm not going to get political here, but it's before last year we were paying $40 a gallon, a barrel of gas, and now we're paying over 100. There's just it's just we turned off our spigots and we started begging for oil again from other countries. So,
Yeah.
You put two and two together, what happened? Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's about it.
Well, I have a few kind of general questions for you, and you might have already touched on this before, but do you have like a favorite kind of guitar, a favorite amp, ones that you are drawn to? It sounds like there's probably a few different ones.
Well,
drawn.
For what I use on stage now, I use the Angle Powerball 2.
Okay.
Those amps are just I don't know. They're just on steroids. Those amps. It's so beautifully clean, and just for my sound, because I don't use guitar effects, and I just, any amp I just plug into any amp. I'll sound like Ross. But I love the Angles. I have my old Marshalls from Manowar. I have two of them totally brought back to life, like they're brand new. They've been serviced, and I have a few Fenders. I have a lot. I have a lot of amps, but mainly the Marshalls, the Angles, very cool amps. It's just it's not hard for me to get my sound.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And looking back at like your huge discography, do you have any either songs or maybe riffs or solos that stand out to you as kind of the ones that you're proudest of, I guess?
All right, hold on. I have to answer this phone call.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
800 service, they can take a shit. Okay. All right. Riffs. Sure. I wrote "Burn Baby Burn" on DFFD for the Dictators. I wrote 16 Forever.
Sure.
Music. For the Dictators, I wrote. Love those two. I wrote. I wish I wrote more for the Dictators, but I'll do that. Manowar, of course. The song Manowar. The song Dark Avenger.
Yeah.
Fast Taker, Shell Shock, of course. Gloves of Metal is a great metal riff. Into Glory, Each Dawn I Die on Hail to England is a great, amazing riff. It's Max Cavaliero's favorite metal song.
Okay, yeah.
So he's like, that's the greatest thing I. So a lot of riffs that I played. They're just, it's like, what's your favorite? People go, Ross, what's your favorite song? Like, from where? From when? It's like.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
I'm not one that constantly listens to my old stuff back then. Because I'm so into new stuff, and I'm trying to write a song. Oh my God, Fabian. Hold on.
Sure.
Fabian. Sweetie, I'm doing an interview. Can I call you back? I was just talking about you. Yes, I'll call you back. Okay. Yeah. She's trying to, do the last Shaker Street thing and tour. Oh yeah, I toured with them. We did a French one like 3 years ago. So it's hard to kind of say what my favorite riffs. I hope my favorite riffs are the ones I'm about to write.
Yeah.
The songs on Born of Fire. A lot of great stuff. It's just We Will Kill is a great riff from New Metal Leader.
Sure.
I Got the Right, New Metal Leader. There's a lot of shit out there.
Yeah. And since you already mentioned kind of the song that the Dictators just recorded, but do you want to talk a little bit about that song and the blues and the Bronx connection there?
Yeah. So when I went to Clinton, it was a legend. The Blues Magoos were legends, legendary guys, because they supposedly got kicked out of DeWitt Clinton for having long hair. So everybody's it's so like I always loved that song. I always loved that song, and so one day, so when the Dictators we used to do it, and
Yeah.
I used to sing it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I went to sing it this time, and my voice had changed, and for some reason I just didn't like it. I didn't like my singing anymore. So when Keith Roth joined the band, he sang it, and you hear that?
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Hear that?
I do. Wow, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, and that's not the mixed version. That's just the board mix that Andy was working with.
Yeah.
So it's going to be amazing. I play keyboards on that, guitar, lead, the whole deal. So that's where we're headed, and we're going for a record deal with the Dictators, and we'll be out there. The
Yeah.
band is amazing. Me, Keith on guitar, Andy, and the great genius Albert Bouchard on drums, whose work is just timeless work. I mean, I love him. I was in a band called, I didn't mention the Brain Surgeons. I was in
Okay.
a band called the Brain Surgeons with them. We did a record, Denial of Death, which is has most of my songs on it.
Yeah.
I wish I had that record back to redo with a new metal woman singer.
Sure.
One day we're going to do that. So, we're really excited, and so that's it. Hopefully, there's no World War III, and they don't come up with a new pandemic, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Absolutely. So the final question I have for you, at least at the moment, is what does the Bronx represent to you?
The Bronx is my homeland. I still recognize it as my homeland. It's where I came from. It spawned me. Um, I grew up there. I mean, it's like the Bronx can never be taken away from me and my family. And it's just, my memories of my childhood and growing up were just amazing. DeWitt
Yeah.
Clinton, Lehman College. I mean, it was just, I'll never, you're there. You'll always be. I'll always be a Bronx boy. And I'm so proud of it. I really am.
Yeah. Well, the Bronx is certainly, lucky to have such a legendary guitarist like you that hails from it. So yeah, I really appreciate you taking all of this time and sharing at least a portion of your life story. I'm sure I know that there's a lot more.
As I talk about it, I'm remembering things. I'm going, oh, I should have said that. I mean, it's hard to encapsulate. So
Absolutely. Well, at least at the moment, are there things that you'd like to say more about that that you haven't touched on yet?
no, I mean, if you want to know, I mean, anyone that is curious about, the music, the Dictators, Manowar, Heyday, Spinatra's, Brain Surgeons, Death Dealer, any of the bands I was in or currently am in, just go to my website, ross-the-boss.com. See me on Facebook, Ross Friedman, aka Ross the Boss. See the fans page. It's easy in media. If you're savvy, you know how to get to it.
Sure, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Ross. I'm going to turn the recording off right now.
All right, kid.